Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. If you clicked on this video, there's a pretty high chance that you are a young writer, which is great. I was also once a teenage aspiring author. Like 9 months ago because I'm only 18 now, and I'm still an aspiring author because I genuinely feel like I have some advice for people who, like me during their teenage years, loved writing and wanted to be an author really badly. And especially have some advice if you're someone who thinks they want to get published during their teen years. For a bit of backstory about me, I've always had a passion for creative writing. I wrote stories as a kid and attempted writing novels as a teenager. I started my YouTube channel, which was a booktube channel, when I was 14. Basically, my dream career would be to be a published author while also running my YouTube channel content. I finished school at the end of last year and decided to keep working towards my dream. Alongside part-time work, I spend my days working on my current writing project, which is a sci-fi survival story, and making YouTube videos. I'm genuinely doing what I've always wanted to do. When I was 16, I was absolutely terrified of having to tell people that I wanted to be an author when I grew up. Of admitting that I didn't want to go to university and wanted to do my own thing. And that people would laugh in my face like I was some little kid who told them I wanted to be a dinosaur when I grew up. I had a lot of insecurities, and this made me really scared of how people were going to react to what I wanted my life to be. I can tell you right now, no one has ever laughed in my face when I told them I wanted to be an author. Most people think it's cool. So I want to offer some words of wisdom to those a few years younger than me who also want to partake in this journey of becoming a writer. The first bit of advice I'm going to give is probably something that I think all beginner writers of any age need to hear, but I especially want to drive it home to the teen writers. You do not need to worry about publishing. Publishing should only be like a major concern when you've got a quality completed manuscript. There's nothing wrong with fantasizing about the day that your work gets to get published, or thinking about what it would be like if your book did get picked up by someone, or doing research into the publishing industry. But thinking you're going to write a novel and get it published during your teen years, it's just unrealistic. It's unrealistic for a number of reasons. Firstly, you can be a pretty good writer during your teen years, great even, but from looking back at some of my old work, it wasn't great. Maybe better than the average teenager, but not good enough for traditional publication. Your writing at this age likely isn't as ready for publication as you might think it is. Or maybe it is good enough, but in the future, you regret the first novel you get published being something that came from your teenage years and at a time where your writing still wasn't its best. Writing continuously evolves and gets better as you evolve and get older. During like your first and your third drafts, publishing should be a vague goal. Yes, I am working on this so I can get to the point where I can start querying it. Once you've properly prepared your manuscript, aka you've had beta readers, critique partners, and done 6 or 8 drafts of self-edits, then you can really start thinking about it. Getting traditionally published is hard. It takes most people about 10 years. There is no rush to be published. Writing isn't about publication. What I recommend doing during these years? Working on your writing skills. Learn the rules of writing. Learn how to world build correctly, learn how to write characters, learn basic grammar. Get to know whether you're a pantser or a plotter, what genres you like writing in, what style of writing suits you. Spend your time writing not to be published or to show off some sophisticated writing, but do it because it's enjoyable and what you like doing. And if you're serious about it and want to get published one day, research the basics of publication. Learn about both traditional and self-publishing, and have a little bit of a think about what might suit you better, without instantly going and trying to get published. There's nothing wrong with learning how the career you want works. Pretty much everyone during their teenage years who has a career in mind that they want to go for after school should be doing a little bit of research into what they need to do to get to that. But until you're ready for that publication step, don't go drafting emails to literary agents. Maybe I'm the only one who was doing that kind of thing. When I was 13, I was genuinely researching literary agents to get this manuscript I had published So glad I never said any of those. That would be so embarrassing. Spend time getting to know writing and how you write, and it'll pay off for you big time in the future. But how do I find out all this information? Well, clearly you have an internet connection if you're watching this, so it isn't too hard. Watch videos from people who know what they're doing. I cannot recommend Brandon Sanderson's writing lectures enough. These are university taught lectures recorded that you can watch on YouTube for free. This is a resource you really want to take advantage of. They have a focus on writing sci-fi and fantasy and going through world building, plot, and character. I will leave a link to the first lecture in the description below. There is some discussion going on about AuthorTube and is it really reliable, and honestly it can depend on who you're watching. I would recommend channels such as Jenna Morassi and Alexa Dunn. Jenna Morassi is really good for the business side of writing and how to be successful with self-publishing. Alexa Dunn is really good for understanding how traditional publishing works. Watch AuthorTube videos from people who are published and have good reviews. Many authors also have podcasts. Some that I've listened to in the past include Marissa Meyer's The Happy Writer podcast. NaNoWriMo also has a podcast. I believe it's called So You Want to Be a Writer, and that one's really good. And those are all on Spotify. Writing books can also be a really good resource. You could easily just go down to your local library and check out what writing books they have there. If you are reading books on publication though, it's pretty important that you check what date they are written from. Publishing trends and standards change almost all the time, so if you're reading something from 15 years ago, there's a chance it's probably not accurate. I'd maybe try and keep it within 5 years of the year that you're in. The closer to the year that you're in, the better. Something I regret not doing as a teenager more is entering writing competitions. Writing competitions are a great way to practice writing and explore storytelling. It works really well because a lot of writing competitions are for short stories, and short stories are just such a great way to practice writing and get to explore little smaller projects. And also there's writing competitions that are specifically for people within the teenage age bracket. Plus, for some of them, you could win genuine cash prizes. I never really won any writing competitions that I entered, but I usually always had fun with them at least. Probably the only thing I have against writing competitions is that sometimes when you go and read the winning stories, you can tell that they value like meaningfulness and depth over creativity. Like I submitted a story about like superheroes, and then like I read like the winning one and it's like sitting and reflecting by a lake. And yeah, this person's writing was way better than mine and was very beautifully written. But which one sounds more interesting to you? I don't know, maybe you're good at writing reflective lake stories. If so, definitely enter some competitions. Another smaller note is that all creative writing is creative writing. It doesn't matter if what you're writing is sophisticated or not. All creative writing is self-expression, experience, and can be fun. This includes fanfiction. Fanfiction has a pretty bad name, and for some legitimate reasons, but fanfiction is genuinely a great way to get better at writing. It saves you having to come up with original characters and new worlds, and just gives you an avenue to explore writing itself and creating plot lines. Many authors started writing fanfiction. For example, Marissa Meyer, who wrote the Lunar Chronicles, originally started out writing Sailor Moon fanfiction. And Cinder was also a NaNoWriMo project. If you have friends who are interested in creative writing on any level, share stories with them. Getting practice, receiving feedback, and sharing your work is gonna help you out tons in the future. Especially if you are getting into publication, if you can't handle criticism, how are you ever going to get a good manuscript? Like, yeah, it's a legitimate reaction to have to criticism, to kind of be a bit hurt by it and taken aback. But as long as you can still clear your head of it and think about it logically and understand where they're coming from and fix it, you're all good. Sharing work is extremely difficult. I still find it really hard, especially if it's a novel, because so much of your time goes into it and so much of you goes into it. And sometimes I genuinely can't tell if something I've written is good or not. Once again, insecurities. Getting in little bits of practice at sharing your work will help build up those sharing your writing muscles. And don't be embarrassed by what you write, unless you're writing the type of stuff that you should not be writing while you're a teenager. But otherwise, just remember the fact that Twilight is a published book that was loved by millions. Sometimes that's genuinely what I use to motivate myself, like, you know what? I could never be that bad. Reading is super important to be a good writer. Everything that I'm about to say is stuff that's already been said 100 times before, but I'm gonna say it again. It's especially important to read books in the genres you write in. Reading bad books is good as well, as long as you can tell what made them bad. Practicing understanding of what made you like a book, love a book, hate a book, and dislike a book is a really good skill, because finding out what makes a book bad will either stop you from making those mistakes in your writing or help you be able to pick up on those mistakes during your self-editing. And lastly, this is some advice that not everyone's gonna like, some may roll their eyes at, but it has to be said. School is still important. School is different for everyone. Some don't mind it, some love it, some hate it. It can either be heaven or hell. The advice I'm about to give is a bit different if school is genuinely becoming a really dark place for you. If you're facing something like bullying or harassment, which is making school hell, obviously something needs to change and school isn't the place it's supposed to be. And it's really important to seek out help when that's going on, from someone who's actually willing to listen. And if no one is, find the one person who will listen to you. But for most, school is just another part of life that you have to go through. It feels like it's never ending, but trust me, it takes 13 years, but it does end. If you're in situations like needing good grades to get into a career you want, if you're doing like your HSC in year 11 and 12, or whatever the final exam period is called in other countries, then school does have to take the priority. If you miss one bit of homework, if you leave one assignment to the last minute one time, it's not gonna hurt too bad. When you're turning in assignments late, work is piling up, and you can't even remember what you need to be doing, that's when it's bad. All you're going to do is stress yourself out and burn yourself out. Set aside time for school and time for writing. Don't let schoolwork pile up on top of you to the point where it's burying you alive. If you miss writing one day, that can be sad, but some authors don't even write every day. Just don't let work pile up on you. Especially if you're someone who's doing school and a part-time job and your family responsibilities, some things have to take priority. That made me sound too much like a responsible adult. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope that it could be genuinely helpful in some regard, and that maybe some advice is something that you can genuinely take to heart. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a like to help support the channel and let me know you enjoy this type of content. And if you want to see more content from me, you can subscribe or stick around to the end screen to have more videos recommended to you. If you are interested in more writing content, I have a whole playlist for all of my writing stuff linked above. It includes things like writing vlogs and catch-ups and reading my old writing from when I was like 9, and it's a trip. Thank you once again for watching, and that's all from me. Bye!